the glorious year of 1960 and we celebrate the Grand National being televised for the first time. The Beatles have officially taken the world by storm and the Royal Myle has let the mouse out of the house by opening another new roller coaster. Their fourth, no less, and the Queen has given birth to her third child, a son named Andrew, who will continue to uphold the royal standards.
Nope. Welcome to 1960, you guys. It's the turn of the decade and it's also the 30th anniversary of the park. It's time to throw out the old and bring in the new. So the park would have been going through all of their profitable attractions and creating a kill list, and this grotesque monstrosity would have been at the top of that list. And given that it's a prime site for a new coaster, I think we should ring in 1960 with just that. But first, we need to do some demolition. Bye-bye. That's because hidden under here for quite a few episodes is our addition. Now, you are probably already recognizing it from the outline of the blueprint, right? Hello, Blackpool. Yeah, it's a wooden wild mouse. Now, the reason I wanted to do the demolition of the existing structures first is because Planet Coaster doesn't deal with scale very well. That station building for the go-karts needed to be far bigger than it really needed to be in real life, but that means that these coasters that are really compact and small just look stupid next to it. So that's what I want to do. But this is true to life. This is true to the actual scale of Blackpool. So this isn't a recreation, by the way. This is a take on it, but it's the same size. So it's the same width and the same length. So, and it's the same height as well, by the way. So I know that it's true to life, but Planet Coaster doesn't do scale very well. Like, even the in-game blueprint version of this is probably twice the size, and it's just wrong. It's just not right. So anyway, this is what we've got. Let me just quickly put this to test so you can see how it's going to run, because these things are really difficult to design, especially when you're doing it as tight as it. Oh, this is going to be so full of innuendos, especially when you're designing as tight as Planet Coaster is. So anyway, we're starting with a station. These coasters have got a weird way of operating. It sends all five cars as a train. I don't know what the design decision was around that, but you can't have multiple trains, so you can only send the five at once. You can't block zone them or anything. But anyway, we're not going to fight with the game, guys. We know that we don't do that. We've got the station. We're going to come out the first turn here. This is exactly what Blackpool's does, and I've actually put it on a bit of a decline as well, because otherwise the cars would stall. And then it comes into the lift hill. I've set this to, I think it's 27 or 28 degrees. It's not masses, and it goes up 15 meters. So like I say, it's the exact same height as the Blackpool counterpart. R.I.P. I miss it. I'm so furious. And if you ever did ride the Blackpool one, then you know that this thing throws you around. Like, the whole idea of these is that they're almost dangerous. So this is what we've got. Come into the first dangerous, that's what we've got. So it comes into the first turn here, first drop, and then it goes into the same sort of turnaround hill, if you like, that Blackpool's did, but this is where it starts to deviate. Whereas Blackpool's would have come around this way, I'm now saying I'm coming down the side of the lift hill, down into another drop, and then into this bit here. So this is the traditional snake pass that you would find with the wild mice coasters, and then it comes into a curved drop down this way, and then back up through this into an S-bend, and then comes back around here. So we do have trim brakes, by the way. Now, the Blackpool one also had trim brakes that were never on. So this thing is just out of control, like mad. I don't even know how it existed as a coaster. Then it comes down into this other drop, and then into an airtime hill, a bunny hop hill. I don't know if the Blackpool one had one of these, actually. But hey, we've got one. And then we come into a turnaround this way, and then back down. You get the idea, right? Then we come into a really wide turnaround here, because you're travelling at quite a bit of speed here. There's only a little bit of banking on the track. You don't really need much, partly because they didn't bank that much, and partly because just because you're supposed to feel like it's out of control. And then it comes around into here, final turnaround, and then back into what would be the brake run. So yeah, I'm happy with this as a design. It took quite a while to pull together. Is it perfect? No, it's not, because you're dealing with Planet Coaster scale. It's never going to be perfect, but it's doable. I don't know how I'm going to do a POV, because the POVs of these coasters are trash. But anyway, we need to build the coaster first. See you in a minute. Do you know what, you guys? There is something about small, intimate builds I absolutely love, and I think it's because they come together so quickly. You can't get lost along the way, and this park is completely different from all of my other parks because everything around it's already built. I haven't got to imagine what the surrounding sightlines in the future are going to be because they're already there. It kind of keeps you on track a little bit, and this is a really small, intimate plot of land to be working with. And I mean, I kept the fence in from the go-kart so you could just see exactly what was going on. And I love how this area is transforming. I seem to be taking a small jank area and making it a small jank area, and I love it. I'm so here for it. And I mean, this is still a day's worth of work, but it has happened quite quickly. Now, let's talk about everything that we've done here, shall we? Because there's quite a few changes that you may have spotted. Now, the first one that we've got going on is I fixed the catwalks. I didn't realise at the time that I was doing something wrong in the game. Shocker. So, yeah, the catwalks down here are all like janked up, and they're on weird, like, I didn't know what was going on. It wasn't until I actually came back and thought, no, I'm trying to backfill track as opposed to front filling it. So because I was building backwards, it was putting the catwalk on the opposite side. So actually what I needed to do is delete it, put it forwards, and it was all worked out. And as it turns out, I had a couple of places where I had done that. So they're now all fixed and all done. Then you also saw me do the supports. I don't know what order I did it in, though. I don't remember. But you saw me put the supports in. Now, I wanted to hide the fact that this is the back end of the station. This is where the unload platform would be had we put the exit on the other side, right? So we're tied to that in-game. We can't change that. But what I'm trying to do is hide the fact that that exists by saying that this here, this is the end of the station. And then everything you've got this side is station. But this is almost like maintenance areas. So I've put in some of the wooden platforms and all of the usual gubbins. And then the maintenance area here, just to like hide it off a little bit. I mean, the maintenance area doesn't need to be any bigger than this. You've only got 5 cars, and they would probably be lifted by hand anyway. It's 1960; they'd be lifted by hand. So it doesn't need to be any like bigger than this. But then you've also got access down into the ride area, and then you've got access to the other parts of the rides and stuff through the catwalks, etc., etc. So all of that kind of works out. Now, this area needed the custom supports because the station would have cut them off, right? So that's what I've done, is I've come along and put those in. Now, this isn't the only place, though, that I've put custom supports in. I've actually ended up filling in the bits where the track collision has detected there's a collision and it's taken the supports out. So like this bit here, for example, I've put them back in. Now, this does look like it's a really tight clearance, especially this one here, which is one that I have put in, and this one here. But it's clear, like, it is clear. It doesn't look like it, but it is. Now, there is one in-game faux pas that I can't fix, and this is also true with the RMCs that we have as well, and that's this one here. I can't remove this, so when you look at the POV, you are going to smack into this pillar. I'm sorry, guys. It's what it is. What I might do, though, is raise this up a little bit so it's not so intrusive. And the other place that I've done quite a bit of custom supporting is this area here, because we've got the S-bend. It would need supporting from underneath, and of course the lift hill is here, so the actual supports themselves couldn't be there. So what I've done is I've extended this out and made this like a bit of a chunkier support, and it comes down this way, and then I've just attached the remain seated sign to it. Now, is this fit for purpose? Oh, probably not, but I mean, works for Carowinds, right? Too soon. And so I've also put in a couple of other custom supports all along this way too. So again, I've checked the clearance. They are very close. I'm not gonna lie. There's some bits where the game is doing some weird things, but it's fine. it's fine. And then the station building itself then. So I wanted to copy Jackrabbit because I love that original station design. Now, this was actually going to be the original design for the Bob that we did, but I sort of parked it. I was inspired elsewhere to do the Bob, so this one has been pulled back out again. Actually, I think this works better. It works better here. You've got the yellow and the white. The coaster, by the way, has been in various colours, but I settled on yellow and white. But then what I've done is I've actually created these segments. I didn't want it to be my usual pillar, stuff, pillar stuff. I wanted it to be slightly different. So actually what I've done is I've put these 2 pillars here, and then I've actually used the mouse signs turned backwards in this space instead, and then just copied that across. And then of course we've got the usual pitched roof that's going on here, and then inside the station, inside the station we've got this. So we've got the flat beams and stuff. So this is going to look cool. We do have some, I haven't put it in yet, but we will have some modern technology going on in here. So in the 60s this would have had things like push points and like computer controls and whatever. So yes, we get to use that stuff now. Woohoo! We're starting to get to the point where I can start to properly flesh out builds, and I'm loving it. Talking of which, we've also got floodlighting going on in the area too, so you would need this to be safe. Now, what you would do is put the floodlights in an area where they can't shake loose, so it would be where the train is travelling at not that much of a speed. So, for example, there, and then at the top of here. So, yeah, you don't want them in a high impact area because they would just literally shake loose. So, no. And then the queue line I've put in, it's just a zigzag, it's just cattle pen. I mean, the prestige of the ride I think is less than 500, so this is probably, is it less than 500? Yeah, 491. I mean, it's not great, but whatever. It's Wild Mouse, no one cares. So this is probably overkill for a queue line. It could probably be half the size of this and be done with it. Like, you can actually probably just get away with doing away with this back end of the cattle pen, but I'm going to keep it in because we are a busy park, so I need to like fill the park with guests and see what happens. But yeah, so the queue line is there, and then I've started to make this sort of like fit into the area. And I've started landscaping because I wanted to get a feel for how I wanted the fence combos to be. I've decided to reuse the go-karts fence to pay tribute, or pay homage to the actual go-karts. So I thought, yes, let's reuse those, but let's actually see how this fence combo is going to go. So we've got our don't die fencing, and we've got our go-kart fencing. And then all I need to do is just come along and fix the key fencing, or the key wall, join these up, and then put the path covers down, get rid of the old stuff. So that's where we're sitting. Quite like it, right? Let's see how it ends up. There we go then, guys. It's tiny, it's cheesy, it's going to give you splinters if you ride it, and when you do, it's all over too quick anyway. I'll put a before and after picture of how the area looked so you can see just how much it has changed. But welcome to the park. Cheese Chase! I decided to name this one because I am actually filming these 3 or 4 weeks in advance because I'm trying to churn out as many episodes as I can, so I don't have time to do the naming bit. But yeah, Cheese Chase, here we go. I had to rein myself in because I was sort of getting a little bit carried away with the modern day take on this, particularly as there are no real pictures available of what Blackpool's Wild Mouse looked like like in the 60s. So I sort of had to rein it back in. But if you come back to this area here, yes, this looks 60s. This is exactly as it would have looked in the 60s. And you've got the sign that's sitting up there, Cheese Chase. Sorry, you've got to say it like that. That's like, it's gonna be the motto, Cheese Chase. So yeah, let's have a look then at what we've got. So I decided, by the way, to swap out the roof. So you would have seen as part of the montage there were multiple different formats, and I got too far into the montage to be able to not include certain bits. So you'd have seen it with a different roof. Of course, you've seen it with different fencing. So I decided to swap out the fencing. I didn't like the go-kart fencing. I had every intention of keeping it there as an homage, but when this area started to develop, the fence just didn't fit anymore, so I decided just to swap it out. And actually, I've gone for this panel fencing. This was sort of the thing in the 60s. This was the fencing style choice of the 60s here in the UK. So actually, this now fits the time period better than the 30s fence that we had before. So I've decided that actually works better. And this looks better in white and orange as well, because it's the whole cheesy mousy thing. So yeah. Alongside that, I also decided not to have the exposed wood underneath on here. I decided to panel it off with the mice that you see on the side of the billboards and the banners and stuff. So I actually decided to put those in here. And we've got some very confusing branding going on as well, because we've got red Cheese Chase here, we've got white Cheese Chase, and then over here we've got yellow Cheese Chase. So hey, whatever, it can be whatever colour you want it to be. But yeah, I love it. And then down the outside here, just put foliage and stuff in just to bring it to life. And then of course you've got your danger keep out signs going along here. And I've also put in a couple of remain seated signs around the ride. I have tweaked the ride. It was running a little bit cold actually when I started to watch some of the POVs back. I was a little bit worried when I designed this originally that it was running too hot because of the scale, but actually when I was looking at the two Australian ones and of course Blackpool's, I ended up thinking that this was running too cold, so I've actually sped it up. I'm hoping that you guys are going to agree, because the POV is trash to watch, it really is, but it gives you the idea of being thrown around and out of control and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for here. So inside the station then, I've kitted this out. I've put the roof in and whatever along here. This didn't change, by the way. This was the original roof that I had inside here, but I wanted it to be a panel roof, not a panel roof, sorry, a smooth roof with the box lights and stuff coming down. Nothing more in here. It doesn't need theming yet. It's still the 60s, so we don't necessarily have like mice and bits of cheese and stuff yet. Now, I know that this is a massive step down from last week when we pulled together this masterpiece, right? I am fully aware of the camera work on that. I'm fully aware of this, but you know, it's not time yet. It's not time for this to have a theme. It's just time for it to sit in the park and just be present. So I have then just put a couple of signs on here. No loose articles beyond this point. And then I have just put an item bin just down here. Doesn't need security or anything like that, but hey, yeah, it probably does in the future. I've put the bins in the queue line, so we know that this is now a thing that we are doing. Disney are doing it over in America, so we are kind of taking a few cues. And size restrictions, height restrictions are now a thing on rides. Now, I don't know whether the park would have had to have gone through and retrofitted all of their queue lines with the height signs and stuff, but actually I'm just going to do them as I go along. So we've got the first one. And this is because this ride is actually quite violent, so you need to sort of have your wits about you and stuff. So inside the maintenance area, I just put a few bits in here. Like, I didn't want to do too much in here because it's inside a shed, and it's actually needs a lot of space because you would have tools and stuff going on in here. And then I've just put some clutter inside the actual ride area itself. It didn't really need to have much more than this. I wanted to keep it fairly clean. I did toy with the idea of having some kind of centerpiece, and there is a cheese piece, isn't there, in the scenery tab. I'm actually going to check. Sorry guys, I know this is really like not, but I'm just going to check. Is there a cheese piece? No, there isn't. I thought there was a cheese piece that I was going to be able to use, but no, okay, whatever. So I might put a centerpiece in here and see what happens. You can see how this is now running a lot hotter, by the way. Like, yeah, this is now, it's feeling right in pacing now. There's a couple of bits where I'm like, oh, is it all right? But actually, it's fine. Keep convincing myself of that. On the outside here, then I have put all of the usual pathing and stuff down just to bring it to life. Now, they did feel that this area now was a little bit too open. It needs to be open because it's a thoroughfare, so I didn't want to put another game stall and stuff in here. It's bad enough that we've got a bit of a bottleneck that's being caused by this bit. So I actually wanted to keep it open, but I wanted to tree it off, so that's what I've done. Just put some trees, and then down this way I've just touched up all of the flower beds and stuff just to make it all tidy and all conforming with the concrete pad that we've now put down, or that we put down for the ride to sit on and stuff. So it's all looking good there. So yeah, this is how we are looking. I mean, we're not far away from getting steel coasters. Next week's going to be a log flume. All of like the fun, interesting stuff is about to happen. We are on the pinnacle of big changes coming to the theme park industry, and this is the first of them. Like the idea of being able to throw around a coaster in a really tight, compact space. I mean, Bob's tried that with the engineering and stuff over here, and they ended up with a bit of an unsafe version of a coaster, and these are the first time really that you can start throwing people around. So that's what we're going for here. So guys, as always, thank you so much for getting to the end of this episode. I really do appreciate it. I mean, it's a small build, but it's fun to do. Like, it needs to be done. It needs to be in the park. So we're going to go for a ride in a moment, but of course, before you do, please leave a like and a comment and blah, 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 all the usual stuff. Until we speak again, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye.